Tonight, polls have just closed in Caye Caulker after a historic referendum where more than 57% of the 1,454 eligible voters came out to decide whether they should legalize cannabis on their island. The question put to them on the ballot was, should the government of Belize pass legislation to create a responsible, regulated and taxable legal cannabis industry on the island of Caye Caulker, with a portion of the revenue going directly for the benefit of Caye Caulker and its residents? It's the first village, city or town to take on such a weighty question, and Courtney Menzies has been on the island all day covering the election, which happened without the usual election machinery from the PUDP. Courtney now joins us live from Caye Caulker, where polls have just closed at 6 p.m. Courtney, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Tell us a little bit about what the scene is like out there right now since the poll has closed.
Well, right now, the campaigners are still out here from both sides, and, the media is out here. I think we're all live right now doing the same thing, but the campaigners are out here. Of course, the voters that were coming out here, they're not out here any longer, and I believe that I don't think there's anybody left inside left to vote. So, after the polls closed at 6, there's a slight break just for the officers to, maybe take a little break, and then they get to voting. As we were told, the boxes will all be counted simultaneously.
About what the day has been like. Has it been intense? Has it been low-key? Give us a little bit of a recap on how it started and just really how the day built.
Well, first of all, the sun out here today never normal. That sun was blazing, and but in the morning there was a trickle, and I think in the afternoon there was a lot more people coming out. You could see that the energy was a lot livelier. There were more people coming in and out, and it was a quick process. I think there was no line because it's a quick process. You come in, you tick yes or no, and then you come out. It's literally done in minutes. The campaigners have all been stationed outside, just outside that 100-yard line. On both sides, but there were no, unlike regular general elections, there was no ruckus, there were no people shouting or fighting with each other. I think everybody was cordial. They were handing out sample ballots, and in terms of the Hope Not Dope campaign, they were telling the people, do this. Apologies. They were telling the people, do this for the children. That was kind of their slogan that they were telling the people, whereas, the other side, they were encouraging that yes vote. As I said, there was no ruckus, and the morning started off very slow. I think the sun played a part in that, honestly. It was way too hot. I don't blame anybody for not coming out to vote this morning. It was way too hot. But as the sun started going down, more people definitely came out to vote. We're actually waiting, if I'm not mistaken, we're waiting for Anthony Mai to come out and give the final numbers. Actually, I believe he's out here, so we will switch over to him very quickly to give the final count for the 6 o'clock. The last few people who came in, the 5 to 6 o'clock.
Okay.
So he's coming over here right now.
If you have that, do you have that immediately?
So yes, as I said, we will be getting that number from 5 to 6 o'clock. Mr. Mike, can you step? I think all of us are trying to. All right, guys, let's go.
Right now, one moment. Okay.
So we just want to make sure everyone is here, so we're going to get that final. So here we go. Hear from Mr. Mike.
Perfect. Everybody ready? So good night, everyone. So between 5 and 6 p.m., between the breakdown of A to E, we had 21 ballots issued. Between F and N, we had 20 ballots issued. And O to Z, 18 ballots issued. A total of 59 ballots were issued between 5 to 6 p.m. today. So the running total in terms of the number of ballots in the boxes overall is 857. Right? So this is important information during the counting process. We did have 3 spot ballots. Right? So the total number of ballots that were issued were 860. And again, 3 spoiled, so 857 should be in the boxes.
Generally, how long do you estimate this will take to finish counting?
Well, again, so the presiding officers are currently filling out their reconciliation form. So what that means is that each presiding officer was given a certain number of ballot paper, right, in terms of books. So the presiding officer has to account for all of those ballot paper in a form. He has to account for the amount of spoiled ballots, the remaining ballots in the book, and the ballots within the boxes, right? And so all of that is done in front of the monitors. The monitors will sign that they could account for where the ballots are. And so 3 presiding officers will be doing this. Before they do that, they need to seal the box, right? So that's the first thing, that's the most important thing. So there's a process in doing that in front of the monitors. There's a series of signatures that are required to ensure that the process was done, in the open so that it's accountable. And then they do the reconciliation. After that is done, after I meet with you guys, I'll go and meet with them to see if they want to take a break. If they want to take a break, I will allow them to do so. If they want to just push through, then we'll just sink our teeth in terms of the simultaneous counting. Again, each box will be counted within the respective classrooms. And then, again, just based on the numbers, as you could see, for example, in terms of the overall number of votes or ballots within each individual boxes, it's not a lot. And so we don't expect that it should take long, right?
Do you know the percentage of total voters that came out?
Yeah, so the total percentage we have is 58.9%. Remember that the total amount of voters within this area is 1,454. And so we had a total of, again, 857 ballot paper within the boxes. So it's about 58.9%.
What's the number of monitors participated?
So we had monitors from the 2 major groups, right? Those for and those against. We have counters now awaiting to replace the monitors that were there. And so we'll be allowing 2 monitors per each group within the counting station. We'll have a police officer, and then I think we have someone who might be doing like observer, etc. But apart from that, it's 2 counter per group.
And lastly, how would you classify today's proceeding?
Well, I mean, I'm pleased. It was calm. It was peaceful. Everything was smooth. Again, this is the way how I think election process like this should operate, right? And so the beauty of this process is that the constituency of Caye Caulker are exercising their constitutional right, all right? And so this is democracy and this is finest. This is the engine that runs a democracy, right? This shows that everyone who is eligible to have a decision on this particular question was given the opportunity within this constituency to do so today. It was done peacefully, it was done calmly, it was done smoothly, and so we're happy with the way it operated.
The 3 spoiled ballots, what did they do? Put yes and no?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the presiding officer would know, yeah, right? So they have, a ballot could be spoiled during the voting process, the polling process. There's a special folder that the presiding officer should put those ballot paper in, so you should mark cancel on it and put it aside because those have to be returned to the election boundary office. We have to account for all of these things, right? It's just how open the process is.
Do you anticipate that the monitors will be disputing or making a lot of disputes during this counting phase?
Well, again, one of the things that the election clerk and I was discussing was the fact that, again, this year alone, Caye Caulker went through 3 elections, right? A general election, a village council election, and now this election. So the voters should be seasoned to a certain degree. And so a yes and no should be easy. We don't anticipate any major discrepancy or issue, but the way it operates is that we will just separate the yeses and the nos, and then we'll just count them. The ballot paper that are a bit questionable will be left, and then I will come as the returning officer, we'll discuss it and make a decision and move on. As per normal, this is the normal process.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mai. All right.
Bye-bye.
Guys, hurry. We had over 800 people coming out to vote. It is more than the general elections, but less than the village council elections. The village council had over 900. So it's still a very significant number considering that it's more than the general elections and well over that 50% mark. I will say that this morning, me and Duke, we estimated it around, I think, 600 to 700. So
Okay.
Caye Caulker sort of beat us on that estimation.
Well, Mr. Mike covered a lot, gave us a bit of the numbers. 58% is pretty good in the turnout. I think he answered most of the questions that we have. But I still want to ask Courtney, because I know you're going to give us a report at the end of the news. Hopefully we can have an idea of how long the counting will be at that time. But was there any PUDP influence at all on the ground today? Did you observe any of that?
Well, we saw senators and we saw, well, the social partner senators, and we saw Minister Andre Pierres on the ground.
Okay.
But we didn't see in terms of like blue or red shirts or that heavy presence stationed here. No, we didn't see that. All the people who were stationed here who you saw all day were the Hope Not Dope campaign and the Legalize It campaign that, that's spearheaded by Councillor Elia Rosado.
And everybody was relatively still calm and amicable in terms of how they interacted with each other.
Yes, everybody was calm. Even when the interviews are going on and you're hearing the other side's arguments, and you maybe want to argue against them, but everybody kept their cool. I will say it's interesting listening to both sides of the argument, though. When you listen to the Legalize It campaign, they are saying, this is the science, these are the facts, this is what we've researched, and their claim is that the other side is talking, out of whether it's religious beliefs, whether it is personal anecdotes, but they're saying there's no statistics or no science coming from that other side. Whereas, the other side is saying, well, I've observed people who have done marijuana and the negative effects it has and what could happen if it is legalized on the island. So it's very interesting hearing both sides of the coin.
Thank you so much, Courtney. I know we're going to be touching base again with you at the end of the newscast. Hopefully things are speeded up and we get some kind of numbers as to what's going on, all right?